No time for sedation? Some of the best emergencies happen at the hospitals, and today the show was at North Vista. A critical patient draws a crowd like an after-school fight, and you can see them gathering from across the playground. It's no different in the hospital ER, which is just an adult playground. And one of the other crews were flagging us down to get our attention and waving us over. The medic was leaning against the nurse's counter, one elbow up, looking sideways, not facing the patient. He did that so it wouldn't look like he was watching, and by the time we walked over, there were several crews leaning against the counter, not watching. None of us were watching the 45-year-old, heart rate 188, blood pressure 9256, respiratory rate 200291 Hispanic lady about to get shocked. Well, technically cardioverted. As I tried to walk away, my paramedic put his hand on my neck, steered me back around, put a silencing finger to his lips, then pointed at his eyes, then at the patient. So I stayed and watched quietly when suddenly, without warning, BAM! They shocked her. The nurses and doctors were standing next to the patient when her head dropped, and she went limp. Heart rate 210, blood pressure 40 over palp. Just as fast, the doctor turned around, pushed something on the cardiac monitor, and BAM! With absolutely no warning, this fat Mexican senorita got shocked so hard it blew her shoes off, and the last thing left touching the table was her right butt cheek. That's how tightly and suddenly and viciously every muscle in her body contracted. All of us not watching visibly flinched and simultaneously said, "Ooh!" Then she landed, screamed, "Oh, mis Dios!" and curled into a shaking little ball. Heart rate 56, blood pressure 8444, respiratory rate 220292. The color rushed back into her face, her hands, and feet, and we could see it all from the counter where we weren't watching from. Heart rate 68, blood pressure 10268. Later, when I asked why the lady screamed, my paramedic told me they didn't sedate her because she was so critical. He said the doctor made the decision to shock her while standing there. Another crew brought her in about 10 minutes prior because she was complaining of heart palpitations. The crew determined SVT, supraventricular tachycardia, a cardiac dysrhythmia, was interrupting her heart's ability to supply the brain and body with enough blood to function. They administered several rounds of adenosine, 6 milligrams first, then 2 rounds of 12 milligrams prior to arrival. They also had her bear down and blow through a straw, and none of it worked. While the doctor was prepping for the procedure, the rate of SVT increased to 210, to the point where the patient became unstable and the senora passed out. And that's exactly when the doctor turned, pressed the button, and shocked her back to life. There was no time to give the sedation drug, even though it was already prepared and sitting on the overbed tray next to her, because she became unstable. Good thing the crew didn't write her off as Hispanic panic and turf her, which happens more often than it should. No time for sedation.